YouTube, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Decades. So we have some good news today, guys. I purchased a new ship, and with this purchase of the ship, I got a new rank. It reads, and I quote, "All shall bear witness that upon this day, 6/18/2952, the Chairman's Club hereby bestows upon Decades the honorary rank of High Admiral." Hoorah! Oh my god, this character on the screen is hilarious. So I'm gonna flash the award that I got today when I bought my new ship. And this was the first ship that I saw that I decided I was going to purchase with real life money. But once I found out it was like 5 years away from being in the game, I'm like, I'll just wait till it gets a little closer to being in the game before I buy. So that time was today. I like the progress that I saw, and it looks like it'll be in the game sometime this decade. So without waiting any longer, I went ahead and bought my ship, and this is one of the ships I will keep. It actually takes the place of my C2 Hercules, and as a matter of fact, one of the loaner ships for my new ship is the C2 Hercules. So I actually didn't lose anything, because until my new ship comes out, I still have the C2 Hercules to use, right? So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys check out my new ship. I'm gonna put some images up and some videos so you guys can see exactly what it looks like, what it will look like anyway when it comes out within the next few years. And you guys let me know what you think. It's your boy Decades putting in that work. I told you guys, man, I'm here to stay this time. We're gonna buy, this ship is purchased. I have the Orion to purchase. I need the Odyssey, and I think my fleet will be complete. We will see. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
I think when tackling a ship that's got so many unknowns about it, it's a completely new art style, or it's not something that a lot of the team kind of worked on before, we kind of need to make sure that we're approaching it in the most sensible way we can.
So we've got the entire front with its hidden weapons that come out from there for the pilot control. Its dual docking collars, one on either side. Its wings with the new animation designs for them, for how they're actually going to deploy. As you can see, there's a lot of detailing on the wing section, a very elaborate and almost elegant design on it, because at the end of the day, this is something they use as a trademark to show how wealthy they are and well they're doing as a trader.
That's a lot of detail, even for grey box face.
Yeah, it's a new art style. We've done the Defender, obviously, but for the UK team, it's a kind of new art style, and also the Defender is vastly smaller in terms of its size. There's our normal kind of approach to how we kind of layer in the details has needed a bit of kind of alteration, and we've had to kind of think about how we're going to bring in some of those smaller scale elements to give a better sense of size and scale, because when you zoom out from this ship, you still want it to feel huge, and it deserves to feel huge. It is absolutely monstrous. So I think we've had to spend a bit more time working out how we're going to add detail to it. There's still a lot to be done. There's still a lot of the finer details to be added, because that does impact in how we model the ship, how we make the ship. So yeah, it's been a fun challenge for the artists so far.
Oh,
They were very quick. Oh, the animation is nowhere near final. It was just to make sure we got it in.
I think it's a fair disclaimer for this. Absolutely no part of what you're seeing today.
Yep.
It's fine.
I was saying, 'cause I remember seeing the play blast in Max, and they were a little bit felt a bit weightier and a bit sleeker than that. But yeah, there is some kind of subtle movement where panels open up and they allow for the kind of like the rest of the wings to slide in. And as with everything we do, we make sure that there's not space magic going on. Things actually kind of fit and function as they should. So yeah, it gives a few more challenges, but I think the end result is a much nicer kind of silhouette when you see this thing part. Okay, so the interior of the ship, like I say, is the main. Well, you're going to see now. Is mainly in kind of white box. The concept mesh gave us like a really good starting point. As always with concept meshes, we had to do a fair amount of kind of optimizations and remodeling to kind of get it to the point where we can get it into engine and kind of start walking around it. The bridge is trying not to say the same thing for every area. It's massive, and that, you can just any area of the ship you go into, just know that in the back of my head I'm thinking it's huge. We've obviously got the kind of like the 4 control seats. Mark, do you want to talk through the different functionality stations? Yeah.
So, as ever, the Banu don't have captains. They're a very family communal sort of unit, so it didn't make sense to have a primary captain station for the bridge section. In reality, everything would be relatively even. So we have the pilot seat and control, which obviously with a ship of this scale, it's very difficult to get a good view from the pilot seat, to get a good view of what's actually happening. So a lot of the animations need to be very alien so that you can get the pilot into a good position so they'd be able to see what they're doing. So we use a lot of Xian tech, which lift things up through gravity, so they get this fantastic view out the front so you can see where you're actually going. So you've got your primary pilot seat, then to the right of them you have your co-pilot seat, then 2 stations behind are for the large remote turrets that the ship has for defense. So if you ever need it, people can quickly jump into these seats and get into the action to try and defend you from whatever's happening if it's coming up behind or the sides. Obviously, if it's coming on front, the pilot has more than enough means to be able to deal with it themselves.
And if your instinct was to stop the YouTube video and go immediately to comments and say it's pronounced Xion, Mark, get a better hobby.
I'll say you'd be correct.
Directly behind the bridge where the actual operations occur, you have some basic features for if stuff goes wrong. So you have some suit lockers to put emergency suits in, because obviously they're not going to want to go around in their day-to-day lives wearing their spacesuit all the time. But if something goes wrong, they do want them to hand. So next to the actual escape pods, you have your suit lockers to quickly get suited and booted, and then be able to get into your escape pod and get out of there if you need to. So they have one on either side, one for each of the actual crew that would be on the bridge, as well as a couple of extra, because leading a little further down, we actually have the more habitation side of the ship, but we'll get to that when we get there. Directly behind, we also have the entryway to get inside the main man turret.
This is kind of one of the rooms that we spent a bit of time kind of playing with in white box and making sure we got it right. We really wanted this to kind of feel like quite a moment walking into it.
Yeah.
Go on, Jared.
No.
Okay.
Even in gray box, this is quite a moment here.
Yeah, there was some really nice bits in the kind of concept where you had these kind of like these like lit walls, and we tried to kind of pull some of that into, and I think it's almost having that kind of moment of like solitude before you kind of get yoinked up into battle. So it's quite a lonely area of the ship. Everywhere else on the ship kind of feels like it's built for like Mark was saying, like the family, whereas this is kind of very purposeful. You know what you're getting into as soon as you walk in that room.
So an interesting thing about the turret, because it's probably something people are going to be curious about, is how it actually works, because there's no big arm there behind it or anything like that. Once again, it's using alien technology that's keeping it up in place, which is what the plinth is for behind it. And there's an air shield that will be going around the top of here so that when you actually enter the turret, you're not venting the entirety of the room. Obviously, that does mean that people could try and sneak onto your ship, but while your turret's manned, that might not be the safest thing for them to do. Moving down from the actual bridge area, we then move into the sanctuary. So the Banu are known for being very multicultural when it comes to their religious beliefs. So they have a entire area dedicated to worship, to fortune, to hoping that things are going to go well for them or that the next trade deal is going to be a good one. So this is sort of at the end of the tree of life, which is how the entire ship's built around. And it makes sense for it to be at the end of the tree because it's where everything comes out from. So it was important to keep that feel that it runs through the root of the ship. Going off the side of the sanctuary area, we have the med bay, something that people are very curious about where it actually was. It's just off to the side, just behind the bridge, just near where all of the actual habitation is. You have a primary medical care bed, which will do your day-to-day actual healing, and then you have recovery beds similar to the ones we have on the Carrack. Now, rather than just being a bed, decided to try something a little different. It's now these pools of healing gel that you lie in just to recover from any significant operation that you had.
Yeah, I think this was again an excuse to kind of just push the ship away from what we're used to seeing. So originally we had like the 3 beds lined up in here, and it was functional. It was it still looked good. It was just like, it'd be really nice if these if you had your operation and then you just sink down into that recovery pool and
Time's drippings with goo.
Yeah, exactly.
Secretly tucked behind the actual medical section is where the actual medical officer would work. So it's his main station as well as storage supplies for whatever medical supplies that he needs. Obviously, at the moment, it's just the back of the bed, but it's where you do refills on the bed or anything else that you'd need to do. Obviously, the doors across the entire ship are very alien in appearance. So though they make sense, but at the same time, like it was very important that going across this to make everything make sense to the human eye, but at the same time be so different. So you immediately recognize it as a door, but once it starts actually animating and doing something, it feels completely alien. And even doing the general design of the ship, it was important to keep that consistent, something that is easily recognizable, but also completely different to what people expect. Moving on from the shrine area, we move into the recreation and social habitation area. So you've got your food maker, along with areas to actually eat, as well as the actual social area. So people can sit around, talk, plan stuff out. Directly off the habitation area, we have a secondary control for the hangar section. So if someone needs to actually be allowed to enter into the hangar, you have a separate control room to allow you to open up the hangar doors to permit the additional ship to come in. Once again, it's standard doors, but the whole animation, all of it's very alien.
And obviously, when we get to kind of final art, we'll dress this up so there does look to be some functionality there because we don't want it all to be space magic. It still needs to feel like there is kind of mechanisms there that are supporting these things lifting and being able to kind of hover and float.
Coming off the habitation area, we have 2 staff lifts. So these ones would be specifically for the staff to allow them to move around the ship a lot easier. We'll come back to them later because there's a better point to show them, but they just give you more access just because of the size of the ship. We needed to have multiple ways to get up and down. Otherwise, if you want to get from one part to another, you'd have to run the entire length of the ship, go down a floor, to run the entire length again. So we added multiple ways to move up and down between the ship. So at the rear here, we have the we have the crew-specific lift. This has access to all of the floors, unlike the customer lift. This is the passenger entrance area, so the lift will go to this floor for all of the passengers, which then gives them a little foyer area before they enter whatever floor they're on. We have the meeting area, so this is the conference room where important delegates would come to discuss significant trade negotiations rather than I'm going buying a power plant, I'm going to buy fuel. This is where serious conversations and serious negotiations go on.
Yeah, this has got like a really nice view out over the cargo hold as well, doesn't it?
Yep. To the side of the actual meeting and delegation room, we have the VIP suites. So obviously your VIP delegates are going to want something a bit nicer, a bit more special when it comes to where they're resting. So they have their own private chambers so that they can rest and relax and freshen up before they actually go do any significant meetings.
And again, this sort of room highlights a lot of the, I guess, the shape language and the difficulties on the ship. Is that everything's curved, everything flows, and there is that kind of like real kind of like leading shapes that kind of like lead you through the ship, as opposed to what we're so used to on a lot of our human manufactured ships, whereas everything's hard and angled and flat. Really, the only thing in this ship that's flat is the floor.
So the negotiation table has one seat at the top for the actual mediator, which obviously would be a member of the crew, and then even number of seats on either side for the delegates to have their discussions. From the actual meeting room, you get a fantastic view of the cargo hold, where all of your goods would actually be stored. As you can see, the amount of cargo that the ship holds is colossal. And just the sheer volume of it gives you this cavernous, cathedral-like view of being stuck in the rafters of a warehouse worth of stock.
Yeah, it gives you a real sense of how tall the ship actually is. When we get to the market, you kind of get a glimpse at that, but it's not until you get into somewhere like this that spans the whole, or not even the whole height, you've got the hangar above the height of this, how big the ship actually is. So I think this is what a lot of the kind of customers are going to see when they first walk into the ship, is this sort of like reveal of the market area. And what we tried to do in this area is kind of everywhere you walk into it, you're kind of walking through a small tunnel or quite a tight space, so that when you kind of do walk into it, it does then open up and you can see that sort of like that grandeur and that height of the ship. And this is only 2 out of, I think it's 5 or 6 floors at this point of the part of the ship you're in. But I think it's just a nice kind of like reveal of the overall kind of again, just repeating that size and that verticality that we see in the other areas of the ship. I think we've already shown a lot of the concept art of this area already, but the idea here is that you've got this hollow in the middle that will kind of will allow the traders to kind of show off some of their items that might not fit in the shops or might be too valuable to place in the shops. So yeah, it's a very exciting area of the ship, this part. Okay, and the last area we want to show you today is kind of the area that we spent a little bit more time on. It's a little bit further along. We tried to take some areas and push their visuals, so we've got a good understanding of how much work's involved and what the kind of like the final ship is actually going to look like, because it is such a large ship and there's going to be a lot of people ultimately working on it. I think it's good to have that kind of key area that you can kind of refer to as this is what the merchantman's all about. And whilst each area of the ship will have its own feel, will have its own kind of style and in its own forms, I think this is a good indication of the kind of elegance. And if you imagine this is the crew area and the guest area is going to be a level above this, I think it gives you a good idea of what we're aiming for. And that's pretty much where we're up to with the Banu Merchantman at the moment. This is kind of as hot off the press as it comes. There's a lot of areas of the ship we've not shown yet. We're really happy with the progress we've made so far, but at the moment we are kind of at that point where we've got a skeleton crew just kind of working out everything that we need to get done to deliver the ship. When time permits, we'll be able to ramp it up and bring on more of the team to kind of get through the amount of work that's involved. Super excited with where it's up to. I think it's going to be one of those that kind of stand out, one of those hallmark ships that kind of defines what Star Citizen is. It shows that there's more to our universe than single-seater fighters and the likes.